Hey there! In today's video, we're going to be going over inverse functions. Let's do it. Alright, so to begin, we need to know what an inverse equation is or what an inverse function is, okay? And how do we find it? Well, basically, when we have an equation like this given right here, right? Y equals 2x, the way we find the inverse of this equation is we swap the roles of y and x. So this would become x equals 2y. And from here, we solve this equation to get y by itself. Just like this. No coefficient, nothing added to it. Just by itself. And so that is how we find the inverse function. So let's take this y equals 2x as an example. When we switch the roles of y and x, we get x equals 2y. Alright, now after that, we need to solve for y. So to get y by itself, we need to get rid of this coefficient of 2. So this coefficient of 2 is nothing but 2 times y, and that's equal to x. Meaning if you want to get rid of it, we can simply divide the entire equation by 2. That means the 2 and the 2 here cancel out, and this becomes x divided by 2. So now we get x divided by 2 equals y, which can also be written as y equals 1/2 of x. And that's your answer. Let's look at the next problem. Alright, so which equation below is the inverse to the equation y equals 1/4 x? Alright, so if you remember the steps from the last problem to find the inverse equation, right, all we have to do is switch the positions of y and x. So this now becomes x equals 1/4 of y. And from here, we just have to solve for y. So 1/4 of y is simply just y divided by 4. Alright, so now that we know that, if we want to get y by itself, we have to get rid of this denominator of 4. To do that, we can multiply the top by 4 to make this 4y, right? And 4y divided by 4, the 4's cancel out, and that's just y. But if you multiply this side of the equation by 4, right? Then we also have to do this side multiplied by 4. So that becomes 4x. So now we get 4x equals y, or y equals 4x, and that's your answer. Alright, let's look at the next problem now. Which of the following equations is the inverse to the equation y equals 3x plus 12? Alright, this is still a similar problem, but just slightly more complex, alright? So we have y equals 3x plus 12. So always the first step to finding the inverse is you have to switch the positions of y and x, right? So this would become x equals 3y plus 12. And from there, we have to solve this equation for y. So the first step to doing that is getting rid of this plus 12 right here. Now, how do we do that? Well, if we minus 12, that would just cancel out because 12 minus 12 is 0, right? So we're going to subtract 12 from this side of the equation, right? But when we do the subtraction of 12, we also have to do it over this side, which makes this x minus 12, correct? Because x minus 12, and then equals 3y plus 12 minus 12. 12 minus 12 is 0, so it's just 3y. Alright, now we're right there. Last thing we need to do is, we need to get rid of this coefficient of 3. How do we do that? Well, as we saw earlier, right, when you have a coefficient of 3, that's just 3 times y, which means to get rid of that 3, we can just divide both sides of the equation by 3. So this will become x minus 12 divided by 3, and 3y divided by 3. 3y divided by 3 cancel out to just y. So now we have y equals x minus 12 divided by 3, which can also be written as y equals 1/3 of x minus 4. The minus 4 comes from negative 12 divided by 3. And that's your answer. Next, what is the inverse function of the function f of x is equal to 3x minus 7? Alright, so in an inverse function, it's pretty much the same thing as an inverse equation, but you have y represented as f of x instead. Alright, so we can combat that by simply just taking the function, right, which is f of x equals 3x minus 7, and then writing y where there is f of x. So this really is just y equals 3x minus 7. And from here, it's pretty similar to the last problem, right? All you have to do is switch the positions of x and y, which makes this x equals 3y minus 7. Now we have to solve for y. So let's do that. Well, we can see here that we can get rid of this negative 7 by adding 7, right? Because we want to cancel that out and get y by itself. When we add 7 to this side of the equation, we also have to do it to this side, which means we're going to add 7 here. So this now becomes x plus 7 equals 3y. But we still don't have y by itself because it has this coefficient of 3. As we saw earlier, 3y is nothing but 3 times y, which means to get rid of it, we can divide by 3. If we divide this side by 3, we also have to divide this side by 3, which makes this x plus 7 divided by 3. And now we have y by itself, so it's y equals x plus 7 divided by 3. However, now that we have y equals x plus 7 divided by 3, you'll notice that this does not match with any of the answer choices. So what we need to do is we need to go back and substitute y with f of x. But not just f of x, we're going to write f of negative 1 x, kind of like this. And that is equal to x plus 7 divided by 3. And that's your answer. Alright, next, what is the inverse function of the function f of x equals x plus 5? Alright, so we have f of x equals x plus 5. So to solve this, let's turn it into y equals x plus 5. From here, we can switch y and x, which makes it x equals y plus 5. And from here, all we have to do is get rid of the plus 5 because you want y by itself, all right? So we're just going to subtract 5 from here. But if we subtract it from the right side of the equation, we also have to subtract it from the left side of the equation. That makes this x minus 5 equals y, or y equals x minus 5. However, right, when you have y equals x minus 5, originally they gave us f of x. They didn't give us y. So when we write this answer, we're going to write it as f negative 1 of x, and then whatever is over here on this right side of the equation, which makes x minus 5. And that's your answer. Alright, that's it. Thanks for watching. If you found this video helpful, please make sure to show your support. These videos take a lot of effort to make, and I would really appreciate it.